I truly did have such a awesome time. And it's weird how when those memories all fled back. But I'm glad Jess was able to experience it at least once. Welcome to Anything Outdoors with Steve. Today I'm going on another nighttime adventure. It is about 10 o'clock and I'm just getting started. The trail I was planning on doing, I am changing up. This was leaking, sorry. The trail I was planning on doing, I'm changing up and I'm reversing it completely. So I hope to get a ridgeline camp and a lake camp. So which lake and which ridgeline we will see, but this is going to be a loop hike. So I am parked at one end of the trail. I'm going to hike all the way up along the ridges and come back out and hopefully get back to my car. We will see if that happens. It's about 58 degrees out right now. This is a whole month earlier than what I attempted this last year, which is a little unfortunate because the fall colors last year were just phenomenal. So, you know, I might go for another run up here in a month. I just drove through a rainstorm to get here. It's nice clear skies up above, but I am expecting the possibility of rain. So that means when I'm setting up my tent, I'm gonna have to do the rain fly, unfortunately, so no staring at the stars. I don't want another 2 a.m., 3 a.m. wake-up call of raindrops hitting me in the face and having to panic to get the tarp on. So if you're one of the few that has happened across this channel, essentially all we do is we try to bring beautiful things to people like you. So if you enjoy, so if you enjoy beautiful things, stick it out with us and we'll see what we can see together. Here we go. Whenever you're hiking at night like this, you do want to go a little slower. That way you're not risking trips and falls. And you want to keep an ear out too. You know, maybe even stopping to listen once in a while. Make sure there's no kitty cats chasing you or something crazy like that. Most predators are out at night, so you have to keep that in mind. And of course, if you're hiking at night, you definitely want to know the trail. That is the most important, is knowing the trail, because it is a lot easier to get lost at night. Everything starts to blend together. You don't have the broad range of view anymore. It's very narrow, whatever your light's pointing at, and that's it. So you miss a lot. You always want to know the trail very well. Bring a good trail map. Keep an eye on your compass once in a while. You know, let's see here. There we go. There you go. Now you want to keep an eye on your compass. See which way your direction of travel is. And for me, due north is right there, which is straight back to the car. So I'm heading south, and it's important to kind of keep aware of which direction you need to go back. So if I go a little northwest, eventually I'll run into the road no matter what. So if I just keep a good solid northwest, that direction, yeah, eventually I'll hit the road. So worst case scenario, if you get lost, you can utilize your compass that way. Just be sure to know which way to go. That's always important. Doesn't help if you don't know which way. So, and you know, like I say, just take your time. The beauty of night hiking is you're not in a rush. Carry a good flashlight that can illuminate well. last a long time. I know this flashlight will last a few days, and I've got the option of going super bright if I need to, and also dimming it down to make it last longer. And this one just so happens to have multiple color modes too. Kind of like the blue. But for hiking, we'll keep it white. All right. Hard to get the colors. I'd have to say that if you plan on doing things like this, you know, go into the Alpines, if you haven't done it before, it's important to practice. Do a few light excursions that aren't super extreme. They don't drag you way out there. Nothing that's 10 miles out. And learn your gear. I'd have to say that's probably one of the most important things, is knowing your gear inside and out, what its capabilities are, and determining what you may need a backup in case of failures. Because I tell you what, it can get miserable or dangerous really quickly. Of course, water being the most important. Even right now, it's nice and cool, maybe 45 degrees, and I still have to remind myself to stay hydrated. I should be drinking at least 2 liters on the way up, if not more. And if I pace myself properly, I shouldn't sweat a whole lot, but you still burn it. I know sometimes people feel somewhat afraid hiking at night. And so that's also something you have to become comfortable with if you plan on doing something like this. Because I tell you what, night hiking is a whole different ball game. You really do have to have a better awareness of your surroundings. And like I say, knowing the trail, that's kind of key, so you're not falling off a ledge or whatever it may be. I am tired. Not physically, just exhausted. And of course, beyond gear, you have to know your own limitations, what your capabilities are. So you can look at some of these trail maps and understand what they mean. Make sure you're not getting in over your head. There's the hikes going up in the encampments. Every single day somebody's getting rescued up there because they're going beyond their own capabilities. One little leaf right there flipping around. Yeah. That little breeze feels pretty good. Just enough to shimmer the leaves. Cool me off a little. Yeah, definitely knowing your own capabilities is probably the most important, so you're not getting yourself into trouble. I've got an over-the-top med kit, and not just for myself either. It's for anybody that I might come across that's injured. I've got SAM splints. There we go. I've got SAM splints and sucking chest wound patches, blood stop, suture kits, you know, all kinds of stuff for any type of emergency, from minor to major. And of course, the major emergency is, anything to stop arterial bleeds is the only way somebody's surviving. If you don't have the equipment for it, man, that gets scary fast. There we go. Got spider webs everywhere, so I'm whipping them. Yeah, that would be horrible to come across something where normally you would have the gear with you to assist somebody that, maybe they were just chopping firewood or who knows what. People are stupid. But man, what a horrible feeling to, the only thing you can do is put pressure on and hope for the best. And hopefully there's another person to make a run for a phone call. But here, I lost cell phone service 20 miles back on the road. So not only do you have a multi-hour hike, but you've got a good hour drive almost, at least 30-minute drive at 20 miles an hour. Yeah. So it's pretty bad. And then on top of that, the emergency services, they would have to drive in and hike in to assist. And my gosh, you're talking hours. So if you don't have something that can actually stop bleeding, that's horrible to even think about. So yeah, I kind of go over the top with my med kit, because I'd rather carry, my entire med kit, I believe, is around 2.5 to 3 pounds. So like I say, it's way over the top, but I'd rather carry that extra weight, even if I never use it, ever. That's something I'm not willing to toss aside. Look at that downfall. See, I've got, this time I'm bringing my tent. Wow. There's some nice firewood there. So I'm packing my tent just because I know I've got a few more options available for the tent versus the hammock. And if I plan on doing a ridgeline, there's nothing to hang a hammock from, so you're just putting it on the ground. So, tent it is. And then, once again, knowing the capabilities of that tent for high winds, rain, you got to test for all weather. Day hiking is completely different, but even then you still want to be prepared for the event that somebody gets injured and you have to spend the night. So I usually even then bring like what I showed in the negative, what was that, negative 15, negative 20 degree temperatures. I usually bring a little plastic sheet and typically a saw, so I can at least procure firewood for a night if I need to. But even if you do dead branches, which you start walking around and looking for dead branches, there's not a whole lot. So having a saw is pretty nice. You can take a nice tree like what we just passed by. This place sure does hold a lot of memories. It's amazing how they come flooding back as you're walking through. It's just crazy. But I'm thinking back to when even Jess and I were camping with Dan out here. What a blast. She hated it. She was miserable. She liked the camping, but the hike is what killed her. Yeah. Well, we ran into a few issues. One issue being the drone will not fly more than 50 feet height and distance. So I'm very limited on the flight because it says it's not registered again. Seems like that happened once before, and makes it very difficult to get any footage with that when you're limited. So that might change things, and I might have to push the peak off and just do the ridge line. I don't know. I have to decide, because part of the glory of being up there on the peak is flying the drone while you're up there, and if you're only limited to 50 feet, there's no perspective anymore. That is very disappointing. So when I hit the ridge line today, I'm gonna see if I can get maybe enough cell service to provide internet, and send Dan a message, see what his login and password are, and if I've got enough for internet, then I have to turn my phone into a hotspot and allow it to connect through that hotspot. But we do have flow. It is just so terribly slow. It's just a trickle. Look at that. I remember balancing on the rocks while pumping water, and now we just have a little trickle flowing through. I think I was balancing on these rocks, so that tells you how high the water was in comparison. It was an extra foot higher, maybe more. Got some critter in here. Probably frogs or whatnot. Yeah, this is crazy. And that September hike, I took a photo from back here. My gosh, what a beautiful, beautiful place when the snow is just hitting. Yeah, I couldn't get enough. Well, I'm gonna stand, I think, on one of these rocks here. Get some water. I'd like to have water moving a little faster just to clear off of surface debris, but I don't think we're gonna have that kind of luck for us today. Whew. Yeah, this is weird seeing the water level this low, but I know it fluctuates a lot throughout the year. It's still really weird to see it this low, especially since being later in the year and having a higher water level. Before, I should say, when I was here later in the year, the water level was higher. Yeah, it'll work. I'll just sit on one of these, gather some water. Man, and this just brings back when I first saw this in the morning too. I think we were camped somewhere up there, maybe. Oh, no, I take that back. We were camped over here. That's right. Dan found a spot to put his tent and then had the hammocks. Little chipmunk was back there getting water. See a big fish in the water right there. Camera won't break through the surface, but I can see it. If it comes closer, I might just dunk it. I did sleep surprisingly well, considering. It wasn't bad. So I wouldn't want to go much more extreme than that angle, but that's doable at least. I slept pretty well. All right, I'm going to start packing things up. Allegedly, I can keep the tarp and the tent clipped together and make the next setup a lot easier. So then I just pop out the poles and then clip the tent onto the poles. That'll be a little bit of a time saver there, instead of having to climb inside and clip everything together. So I'm going to attempt that version, and we'll see if it works out for me. Did have enough room for all my gear in there and me, so being a one-man tent with that little side angle compartment. So this is the Durston X Dome, I think that's X Dome, yeah. So this is the Durston X Dome 1 Plus. So it's a one-man tent with a little side angle compartment that you can have things inside the tent and have all your gear stowed away. And of course the tarp has another little vestibule section if you wanted things outside the tent. There's enough critters here that if I left my shoes out, they might come and chew on them, so I kept everything inside, even though the shoes were a little stanky. But it worked out all right. So it gets a little cluttered in there. It gets a little cluttered in there, but it was workable, so I wasn't compressed too much. Now the slope to the side was maybe a little much, so you kind of want it level left to right, but the front to back worked out all right. The pad that I'm using didn't slip down at all, and I didn't slip on the pad at all either, because I'm not a sleeping bag on the pad. I've got the Zenbivy blanket, and that allows you to just sleep directly on the pad with the blanket around you. And that was a little too hot for a while there, so I did have to flip it off, but I think we only dropped down to maybe 45 or 50 degrees, so it wasn't bad at all. So I'm plenty warm. Too warm. But we're gonna start packing up and get up that hill. Now, you know, physically I'm tired, and mentally I'm struggling. Yeah, it's rough. You know, when that flood of memories hit, you know, the only thing I want to do is be home with the kids and my wife, and I'm up here away from them. So the things you want, you're away from all the time, right? Yeah. So anyway, I'm kind of right on that precipice of any excuse will do to get me back home. So if I can't find like the perfect camp spot, then I might just keep going. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but yeah, I'm right on that precipice of I want to have this adventure, but I also want to be home at the same time. So it's a difficult place to be mentally. We'll go ahead and head up the ridge though, and if it's not too difficult on my exhausted body, that is. And like I say, almost any excuse will do, right? We'll see. But anyway, yeah, this has become not so grand of an adventure, but it's still beautiful out here. It really does help having somebody with you to share it with. I think that's kind of that's the mental quandary that you come across. Anyway, we'll keep pushing on and see what we see. Pack this up. I am attempting a whole new way up the ridge. I don't know if it's better or not. We're definitely not doing the boulder hopping. That helps a lot. It looks to me like it might be accessible. I'm just not sure. And such a huge part of me is just saying, you know, let's just go home. Let's go home, relax, enjoy the family time, and attempt this a totally different day when the drone works. You know, it just brings me right back to when we used to do videos years ago. The only thing we had was one camera, and we'd pass it back and forth between Dan and I. And at one point we said, you know, this is kind of crazy, let's just buy another camera. Now we have I've got 4 in my possession. I think Grant's got 2. Dan's got at least 4, if not 5. And we've been doling out cameras to different people too. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm really torn on this one. Yeah, that's rough. So I'm pretty sure I have to make it up over that peak and down. I know there's a trail, kind of, but it's steep. So maybe I'll just go up that high and determine if it's nut job or not. Because if it's not safely accessible, then there's no point pushing it, and I can lay that to rest. Now if I was about 20 years old, 25 years old, I'd easily just go for it. But now things are a lot more difficult, and I've recently taken a few falls for the first time in my life on things that I normally wouldn't fall on. So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind too. I need to be much more careful as I'm doing things like this, especially alone. Now this weekend is going to be a busy weekend up here, I bet. So in the event of emergencies, I could always pop off a few rounds, get somebody's attention by flashlight or whatnot. I've got laser, so I can shine a laser at camps for assistance. But yeah, I'm just mentally, I'm struggling. I just don't know what. I mean, part of me is thinking, oh, is this the inner voice I'm supposed to listen to that, you know, warns you of danger ahead, and you're supposed to heed that? Or is this just me with that flood of just awesome memories and bringing me way back to the good times that we had up here, and struggling with that, knowing that that's it. That's the end of those type of adventures. So yeah, that's a rough one. You know, like they say, whew, that was a biter. Not anymore. That thing was taking a chunk out of me, digging in. I smacked it and it was still stuck with its mouth biting. So anyway, yeah, that's, you know, like I was saying earlier, you know, some of the best parts of having kids is watching them grow up, and some of the worst of having kids is watching them grow up. You know, you get to see what kind of people they turn into, and you also know that that's the end. That's the end of that storyline, and their storyline continues, of course, but all the all the kid fun that you had in the past, that's all done. So yeah, just thinking back of how innocent Jess was and on this adventure, and I mean, she was miserable and having fun at the same time. So it was a rough place for her to be in. Her feet were hurting, and I probably pushed it too far. You know, this is, like I say, kind of a rough hike, and maybe it was just a little too soon for her. Trying to decide which way I want to go up. Looks like I'm in the brush no matter what. So I'll go brush left, brush right. Brush right. Looks like I might have less brush overall. Yeah, a little biter fly. I thought it was a hoverfly at first, and then nope, it was biting in. Okay. One beauty of this hike is it doesn't matter what I decide, I'm in no rush. If I'm coming down in the dark, it's not a big deal. I've still got plenty of flashlight. And if I decide to stay up here, it's no big deal. Because that just means another day of hiking afterwards. So no rush today. Today is just take your time get up this stuff. Often Dan and I will contemplate life, and our last few discussions have been somewhat enlightening. One of them being, if you could do it all over again, retaining the knowledge you have now, so starting your life all over again, would you do it? So of course, my initial reaction was, hell yeah. But then you start thinking about it, and there's a few guarantees and near guarantees that you have. One guarantee is it didn't matter how much you would try, there's no way you can have the same kids that you have now. Even if you timed it down to the day, down to the minute. You've got millions of swimmers there. What are the chances that same one is going to make it again? So you're almost guaranteed that you're not going to have the same kids. Number two, you're almost guaranteed that you can be a multi-millionaire or even billionaire. All of us know the perfect stock picks. You know, everybody knows, hey, put it on Apple, put it on Netflix, put it on Amazon, put it on Tesla, you know, just on down that line. So you could have some massive wins in the stock market alone. So yeah, you're almost guaranteed. Throw some on Bitcoin. You know, if you got into Bitcoin early 2000, you would be a billionaire easily, knowing what you know now. So money, of course, is no longer an issue either, which is a big difference too, because with the right amount of money, you don't have to work, and then you can do things like this. And that's also a drawback. You've already done things like this. Are you going to do it again and again and again? You know, so some of these adventures that I've already taken, I already know not worth it, or you know, you've already done it. But if you start your life over, technically you haven't done it. It's in your memory, but you haven't done it. So you'd have all these misleading memories, technically, of things that you've done that you haven't done yet. And that would be a rough one. And of course, going through childhood again. So you got all the turmoils of going through childhood all over again. And that's a rough one too. So you have to decide, are you going to be the super genius right off the bat? You know, the wonder kid that can already read and write at the age of 2. That's right, see, bowling. Or do you play dumb just to fit in? Because that already redirects your life. So some of these decisions that you have made throughout your life may not even present themselves if you change too much in the beginning. And that's a whole nother thing. Now, there's going to be some people out there that are genuinely dissatisfied with every aspect of their life. There's nothing that they think is good. And of course, that's going to be a win. You know, if there is nothing that you're satisfied with, then absolutely. I'd almost have to say that most people in drug addiction are gonna kind of want to fall in that group and maybe not do the drugs all over again. Because man, once you're addicted, that's a whole different ball game. You know, I'm seeing these homeless people on the side of the walk, camped everywhere, city parks along the river, and you know, when it occurs to you that that's somebody's kid, that's somebody's daughter, son, dad, brother, sister, mother. So you got all those potentials. It's somebody that was loved and now is, you know, chosen that life. That's a rough one. So I would have to say anybody in drug addiction, yeah, I'll give that to you. That's kind of an easier choice. But for those of us that have lived our lives decently and feel like we've accomplished quite a bit, you know, and that being said, yeah, I feel like even if I ended up dying, say today, tomorrow, whatever it is, I feel like I've completed a lot that I've wanted to complete in my life, to where I would be okay with that. I'd be able to accept it and come to terms quickly, even if I had a pretty good warning. Like say a doctor came up and said, well, 6 months to live, 6 weeks to live. Of course I'd stop working. But yeah, I wouldn't waste any more time at work. That's a given. But yeah, that's one of those where I feel like I could accept that. You know, I've lived a pretty good life. I've got some great kids, great wife. I would feel bad leaving them behind, of course, but you know, you don't have a choice. So when you're out of options, yeah, I think I could come to terms with it pretty easily. I mean, there's still a few adventures I'd like to take, but you know, not necessary. So I'd probably just spend the rest of the time with the family and go along. Yeah. Whew. That was a big step. So, yeah. I think my answer is definitive. There's not a chance I would do things over again. It's not worth the changes that it would incur. I mean, sure, it'd be great being a millionaire and not have to work, but it's definitely not worth what you would lose in turn. Yeah, there's some things. I'm pretty happy with what I've got. And that's one thing I think a lot of people have to sit down and ponder. Are you truly happy? You know, there's quite a few people that would probably say no, but yeah, if you sit down and think about it, think about all the things you've done, maybe you would be a yes. I see a micro huckleberry bush. Look at these things. This is a micro huckleberry. Oh yeah, that's got a lot of flavor. It's like a big huckleberry all packed up into a little itty bitty package. It's kind of like wild strawberries, if you ever have a chance to try a wild strawberry. My gosh, so much splendid flavor. Just awesome. All right. And of course, you know, we've questioned immortality. Yeah, that was a fun conversation. Immortality. You know, initially you might think, oh yeah, that's actually kind of cool. But then the realization of forever, you know, that's a tough one. Because we're so stuck in our finite timelines. Forever is a much bigger number. So Dan and I were discussing that one and how true utter hell that would be. I mean, you can only experience so many things so many times before that's it, you're done with it. But there's no way out. You can't do anything. And then we said, imagine if we were stuck in our mortal bodies that we have. You try to end it all, and then there you are all busted up. You can't do anything. So now you're trapped in your mortal body, living forever. Wow. Yeah, that would be one of the worst things you could ever fathom, I think. But yeah, it's funny how we come up with different talking points as we're hiking along, experiencing all this beauty. You know, I think the would you do it again was you know, almost a profound realization of how truly happy we are with what we have sometimes. You know, some people just, even if they get what they want, they're still not happy. You know, it doesn't seem to matter what they have at the time. They always want more and more and more. And maybe those are the Jeff Bezos in the world, where your $1 billion yacht is still not enough, and you have to have more. I remember a story of a guy, he was making just money hand over foot, and that's the term, right? Hand over foot. Yeah, that's right. And he essentially worked until he died because he was so greedy. It was never enough. He had millions in the bank account, but it wasn't enough. He was still making money because, hey, why wouldn't I? You know, they're giving me all this money to work. Why would I stop? And at some point you have to realize there's more things to life than work. Or, you know, that's the other question. Are there more things to life? I don't know. You know, this video format in 20 years is going to be obsolete. Nobody's going to look at it. It's going to be antiquated. Everything will be virtual reality or experienced through your cranial probes. I must have cell service here. Everything will be experienced through your implant. Oh yeah, look at this. Talk about facing out. Yeah. And just over there is one of the lakes I was going to hike down to, and I was going to follow that path down here. I don't know if it's accessible or not. So that's one thing I was going to look at. But anyway, I mean, at the end of life, there's nothing to show for any of it other than what you're passing along. So yeah, that's the true horror of the whole thing, is knowing that all your stories, all your tales, and that's what I've always thought about death, was the most horrendous part of death is all those stories are gone. So, you know, all the adventures you've been on, everything you've ever experienced is all gone as soon as you die. And, you know, maybe some family members will remember some of those, but not to the same level that you remember them. So I've always wanted to interview some people that are getting close to that time before it's too late, so that way we can at least document it onto film, you know, some of their adventures, what they remember at least. And that's the other horrible part, is memory is fleeting. I know my memory isn't that great, and, you know, it wasn't until I'm sitting in the old campsite from years ago that all those memories came flooding back. Something I wouldn't have thought about any other time other than just right then. So yeah, it's interesting how your memories work. You don't retain everything. So, you know, all those are even lost. Your own personal memories are lost by you. Well, let's see if I can keep going up there, huh? We truly do live in some amazing times. Here I am on top of this mountain, and I just got off a video call with my wife, telling her what my potential new plans are, and just taking that in, that here I am on top of this mountain, doing the old Star Trek video call. It's just mind-boggling. But yeah, I was telling her that since the drone's not working, I kind of have to reevaluate what I'm doing. And I can do little flights, but you know, they're just little flights. And maybe I'll just start doing that, just do a bunch of little flights, get some footage at least. Anyway, yeah, so I have to kind of reevaluate what to do, and so I said I'd hike for a few more hours and kind of decide what my plan is. And anyway, but yeah, I mean, yeah, here I am. I'm on this little minuscule camera, feeding information to it, and then able to take that footage and upload it to this internet thing where everybody in the world has the ability to see it. That's just crazy in my mind that we've been able to do things like that. But I think I'm gonna pop this drone out and see if I can do some little flights. You know, I can fly up to 50 feet. Yeah. See Little Harrison from here. I know we can. There it is. It's such a sapphire blue that just doesn't come out on camera very well. It's funny. Almost looks black on the screen. Got the turquoise of Beehive and sapphire of Little Harrison. And this is the little slot that you used to get down. So that's the trail down. And that one's really steep. So I was going to look to see if maybe something along this rim here I can drop down. So the spring is dried up. So there's no water, so it's just whatever water I have on me. Has to be enough. So I was thinking, actually that might be the spring over there, because it looks like a nice green patch, swampy, but I still don't see any water flowing. I assumed it was the AOWS waterfall, but yeah, that is completely dried up. This, of course, makes me really glad I decided to reverse the route, because I would not have any water. I was kind of banking on that spring being active still. So I would have to then definitely go down to Little Harrison. And that's a butt kicker. So then, you know, if Route A doesn't work, then it would have to be Route B down here, and it's steep. Having all overnight gear makes it extremely difficult, especially with a 50-pound pack. Between camera gear and all the water I'm packing right now. So I do have enough water right now to make the night. In fact, if I decide to bail, I'm dumping about 1.5 liters out. Oh man, that is just so beautiful. Yeah, so we'll wander up this direction and call this our exploratory mission. Let's see what we see. I'll probably kill the camera for a lot of it, just so I've got my hands. This is a bit of rock climbing here. I just want to see if it's even passable or if I'm being completely stupid. Yeah, I could probably go around here. I think I'm gonna need my hands for this one. It's pretty stable. Get my foot in the crack here. There we go. I think it's safe to say that if your plan was to come all the way up here to have an easier path down, that's not an easier path down. Yeah. Let's see if I can. I think I might have screwed up. I might be faced out right here. Yeah, a little bit of a drop off. I can make it. All the pikas. See, yeah, if you make a mistake here, you're getting a no return pass. Yeah, this is looking dumber and dumber as I go. path here. Getting narrower. Just barely made it around. Okay. Got good handholds and footholds. All right. Well, I can definitely say I'm glad I didn't bring the backpack. And that's the one spot you could camp with a tent. A little lumpy. I just don't know. Do I actually want to drag the tent up here? Or do I want to go home and sleep in a nice comfortable bed? Like I said, any excuse will do to get me out of staying another night when I can maybe go home and enjoy the family time a little more. So I think this might be the excuse. Though that would make a really cool campsite. Or if there's an earthquake, the very last campsite. That is really a bit sketchy to get up here without a pack. And with a pack, I'd be kind of pushing it. See, I could make that a camp spot too, just barely. That's actually a little flatter. That one I could make work. It's just, is it worth it? I don't know. For reference, the pack is way back here. And that was just a bit to get over here. This is my pillow. It's just an airbag with a feather topper, and it is so far the most comfortable pack pillow I've ever used. The feathers cush just right. It doesn't feel like you're sleeping on plastic. It doesn't feel like you're sleeping on plastic. You're not sweating on it. It's so far the best one I found. It's also a Zen bivy. Unfortunately, I like their products. They're really expensive, but I like them. if you're one of the few that has come across this channel, we just do this for essentially our own fun, but it gives us pleasure to bring it all to you as well. Some sort of way to experience it, albeit not the best way, but it'll bring experiences to those who can't really do things like this. Someday that'll be me, and I'll utilize a lot of these same videos to kind of remember different adventures that I've been on. So it'll be fun. It might be painful, actually. I don't know. You know, is it going to be worse to relive these memories, or is it going to be worse to not be able to do it ever again and not even be able to relive them? I think capturing these, at least on video, brings some semblance of, I would almost have to say, accomplishment. Being able to, because my memory is fleeting. I don't remember what I did last week half the time. So this is one form that I can relive some of these. And I think therapeutic in some degree. So beyond just in the moment, but later. There's been a lot of videos I've watched later, and just grand time each time I watch it. Just such a blast. I don't know if this will be one of them. So if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I did my best with what I have. I'm tired. Minimal sleep. I'm going to go to bed early, set up my cameras for time lapse, and go to bed. Because I am beat. And I've got a long hike out, but at least it's not 20 miles. It's only 6, maybe 8, but I think it's closer to 6 miles. So anyway, thank you for joining, and check out some of our other videos. We've got quite a few out there. Dan's been working hard to edit, and I've edited a few videos. It's painfully slow. I have too many things going on. I never have time to sit down by the computer, and so a weekend will go by, and Dan used to ask, did you get anything done on that? And the answer was always no. I was doing this, and this instead, or whatever it may be. And this week's excuse is I'm on a hike, and then when I get home, I've got things at home to do too. But so I try to squeeze some time in to edit, but I take a long time. So when Dan is no longer the editor, that might be the turning point to where I don't think I can produce them as fast as he can, and so that will be a big turning point there. All right, well, signing out. I'm going to bed soon. Good night.
Video call in there.
Me? Make a comment on video call? Huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Talking to Dan. He's in India on a video. Well, I'm up in the mountains. Yeah.
Steve's on the top of a remote mountain in mountaintop in North Idaho, and I'm in Butt Crack, India. And we're using science fiction video calls. Yeah, this is amazing technology. It's an amazing era we live in, boys and girls.
It sure is.
An amazing era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, Mr. Stevens, don't fall off the mountain.
All right. Right. Think that'll balance. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. We're gonna have some breakfast. Hope y'all slept good. I actually slept pretty good. Okay. We're just gonna get a few drips. Man, this landscape back here, and it's barely visible on the camera, but just these jutted cliffs behind the foreground. Rain's starting to come in a little harder, but yeah, you just got these cliffs everywhere, and then Harrison Peak arched the opposite way. Man, it's just so pretty. Well, we're really getting rains on now. Nah, it's just a sprinkle. And you can see just how sheer these cliffs are, which is what made it so difficult to determine where I was going to stay the night. Because you've got some flat spots here, but this is all kind of an overhang. Take a look-see here. Makes you drastically second guess staying up here for any length of time. You have to figure at some point all this is going to slough off too. I was hearing some noises back here. Yeah, this is a cool ridge line. Ah, it's birds. So the way across this ridge here is not to go up that rocky, chunky stuff because it kind of faces out. You need climbing ropes. So you just drop down, maybe down in this little section here. It's all boulder hopping. And then you just slowly make your way down into that little valley. And once you're down there, it's climbing back up and out. Or you take the side route. There's your natural spring in that green area. It's actually back in that valley is right where that spring is. And really, I'm kind of curious if I should leave my stuff up here and check it out. Grab an extra battery and just kind of make my way down there. See if I can see if there's any water at all. Because it looks almost like it's wet today. But there's no water flow. So it's soaking into the ground if it is. Sometimes you see stuff like this and you wonder, how is it possible it's still up and standing and not rolling down? Just sheaved out there so far. Actually, that's a pretty good trail going down. Yeah, I'm already up here. Looks like it might face out there to where you're on a slab going sideways. So probably not. That's the thing, is sometimes you can't see these trails until you're either too late or up above looking down. Yeah, so you do have kind of like a little switchback you could go on that trail down. But I'm going to take this path. Got the occasional raindrop. So my backpack, the little top section, I can actually clip it off to my belt like a little day pack and put my gear in there. Makes it really nice for a little side excursion. You're not wearing a backpack, it's just off your hips. And as long as you're not carrying much more than, I don't know, 5 or 8 pounds, it's not a big deal. All right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna, well, yeah, you can see where the water flows from up there. So that's looking like it could be a spring too. Right at the top there, that's crazy. It looks all dried up. But I'm gonna get in here though. See what we see down yonder. There's camp back there. Yeah, that would be the way back out. Staying away from these faces. There's just no safe way up that other than just rock climbing it. Even the backside is so steep you can't really safely make it up there too, even with trees. Though you could probably use them as support, but then once you're up there you have to climb back down anyway, so you're not saving a whole lot. I would say, yeah, the path I'm taking in or this initial path that I was pointing out, either one works well. Man, it really doesn't look like it's flowing, but it could be. Okay, well, we're gonna make our way that direction, I think, following the flat areas as much as possible. I know my first thought was to drop down to the valley, but it doesn't look like it's easily obtainable. I'm gonna explore it either way. You can see here, this would be a natural spring too, water bubbling out and flowing down. Currently dried up. And we're still making our way over there. Yeah, it's gonna be clear skies soon. There's our rain. It's already drifted past. Now let's go take a look at our spring here. Okay, so we've had something digging here, looking for water. It's a fairly small critter, but you can see the claw marks too. So dig in there and dig. I think that might be badger. Oh yeah, this is still wet. I'm sure if you dug down, you'd probably have water start to seep in. Pick the right spot. Yeah, those look like badger paws. Bunny tend to be a little more narrow. They've got some decent claws on them though. So this pools up enough, so it raises up enough to flow out here and down. I'm going to explore a little further this way. Go. A little further down, I think. There we go. That way you can see what I see. Yeah, I'm sure if you dug right there in the darker spots, a foot deep or so, you'd probably come up with some water. And this pools up about 2 to 3 feet high back here. You can see the water line actually up here. I don't think it gets this high though. And I'm wondering, is that water line or is that just stains on the rock? I'm not sure. Parkour. Okay, here's another spot that looks like a spring. I knew there'd be another one up here. Yeah. That is definitely a lot more moisture contained in. It's kind of cool. Yeah, if you needed to make shelter somewhere. Uh-oh, what do we got there? Okay, I was wrong. There are other critters here. There's lots of grasses. Something that eats a lot of grasses, and a big animal. Could be your vegetarian. Yeah, everything looks fairly dried up. hard to climb out of here. It'd be best to do the boulder hopping the whole way, unless you like to lose elevation just to gain it. If you boulder hop and then kind of skirt the side there, you can make your way up. Or you have to drop all the way down there, which I'm going to do just because I'm curious what it looks like down there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop down and take a look-see. I think just to save time, I'm going to try teleporting there. Ready? 3, 2, we are. Yeah, it's a lot easier than hiking all this. You can see it kind of faced out a bit. If it wasn't for my teleportation skills, man, or some rappelling ropes, you'd have to climb all that. Oh, this would make a nice, cool camp. Temperature dropped about 5 degrees outside the sun there. This is nice. Okay. We still have water, even here. I saw some scratch marks in the spring area there too, so something was trying to dig. If this was flowing, I'd be tempted. Wow. All these little tributaries as it starts to drain out. And it's getting squishy. Okay, I thought I just saw scratch marks. It's just dark soil. Let's see how squishy we've got. Oh, it's fairly compact. Not sinking in too bad. Wow. Little green oasis. And the last bits of snow. Okay. Well, what do you say we go home? Before I get totally scorched. This is some squishy stuff. So cool. Yeah, I thought this was all scratch marks. But it looks like where water bubbles up, maybe. Oh, the constant swarm of the bugs. Almost sounds like a wasp nest. I'm hearing water bubbling up behind me too. Well, I must admit, I never thought I would explore this area. This just so happened to be the perfect opportunity. It is really nice to have your original path in to look at and say, okay, I'm gonna head that direction towards the original path. Not that this is horribly difficult to figure out. Even I can figure this one out. A little trickle of water coming down. It's just amazing. Just one tiny almost there. It's always amazing to me how quickly in rough terrain like this ground can be covered. Mostly the elevation gain. You're essentially going upstairs the whole time. Whew. Definitely feeling that. What's involved of just taking a peek at it. So I checked out all that area, this area, up there, and down into that pit. Fun little side adventures. It's nice to at least get a closer view of this to determine just how unreasonable it might be. But now that we're closer, maybe if you skirt the backside around, then you can do it. All right, camp, I think, is somewhere back in here. Somewhere. And this is doable, but I sure wouldn't want to drag overnight gear up here. I just wanted to take a look at the backside of the hill here, see how bad we're looking. Yeah, so that's the first outcropping, that's the second. So this trail skirts the bottom side. I'm calling it a trail. And so you would, oops, have to watch where I'm stepping. You would have a rock climb no matter what going up here. Being on that ridge would be cool. But you always have your risk to reward factor. That is a razor thin ridge line. I mean, you can see light through it. So, yeah, it's like I was saying, razor thin ridge line. That's kind of cool. You'd have to straddle that thing. Yeah, you have to imagine how much has sheaved off both sides. And this one, ready to go. That one right there is ready to just slide off. And all the rock down there was up here. Same with this stuff. So the rock I'm standing on, one day will be down there. Yeah. Yeah, so like I say, it's doable. It's just not with overnight gear. There we go. Still going. There it is. Came to a rest. All right. Well, let's get to our campsite. Straddle this ridge, right? That's the path. Let's get out of here. Enough being stupid for one day, right? Just gotta pick the footholds on the way down. I just followed this natural washout section. As the water comes down, it creates little footsteps for me. All right, well, I want to thank y'all for joining. Plus this little side adventure. This is kind of cool. It's fun to explore. You know, it makes you feel like a kid again. See where you can actually go. Test your limitations, your physical limitations, without overstepping them. You know, because that's really easy to do. Things are very unforgiving up here. And it's just one slip step away from not making it back. So you got to be very careful and know what you're capable of before you get yourself into it. And not what the 20-year-old version of yourself was capable of, but what you're capable of. Because I tell you what, the 20-year-old version of me would be hopping up over these rocks like nothing. Yeah. The achy knee version of me, not so much. Let's see if I can get through this way. I can't remember if this was a no-go. I think it is a no-go. Better drop down below. Yeah. If I recall right. So I don't see any of my footsteps anymore, so I did drop down. All right. Well, if you like adventures like this, be sure to check out our others. We're going to Patagonia soon, so we should bring you some cool pictures from there. Let's see. Oh, 4:45 p.m. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be coming out in the dark because I still have to pack things up. Yeah, leaving in the dark. All right, pretty soon here I should be able to skirt across to the side trail. Call this a trail, right? Move this 100-year-old tree out of my way. Go. Almost there. All right. Well, I'm gonna go home, take a hot shower, and drink some coffee tomorrow. I can't have coffee this late. It's ridiculous, is it? Maybe I'll have some hot chocolate. You know, cool down with some hot chocolates. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Whoop. Here we go. Turn this off before I do something stupid. I need both my hands. Bye.